Welcome back to the garage. It's quite a good day today actually. I've managed to borrow neighbour's engine hoist. So we're gonna do a couple of things. We're gonna pull this engine out. The rover V8, we're gonna pull it out and make sure it fits through the gap of this bodywork, so that I know that when I put it back in, if I'm really careful, I won't damage the bodywork. But if I can get that out that gap, then I'm going to take off the suspension, take off the wheels, we're going to take off the doors, we're going to recut the bonnet off, take off the front suspension. I've already done the steering rod, so I'm going to take these bolts out. That's all the front suspension, and then we're going to separate the body from the pan. If we can get all that done before time sort of stops, we'll get all that done today, and that means tomorrow I can start the job of putting in the two floor pans. And get the two floor pans in, and then rolling on sort of like midweek, start welding the insides of the body. I've got some trestles. I can get this up in the air and I can weld all the dash back together. I can weld all of this back together, do the inside of the floors because that's missing a piece over there, and then finally bolt this down to the chassis. So with it bolted down to the chassis, I'll know exactly what's square and what isn't, and work on that. So we'll get that done now. We're going to get the engine out and go from there. It's hot as hell in here. Yep, engine came out. It touched here a tiny bit, but I think if there was two people putting it in, then the gearbox will fit through the hole and rest on the cradle, no problem. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to cut these little bits off here and make it look nice, and then I put a return edge on there to get strength. I'm going to put an interior panel that follows that panel down, and then I'll fully weld everything. But as it is, sound perfect. Engine fits in the hole, no problem at all. That gives you a little look see at the rear suspensions again. See how I've done it. So yeah, cool. Engine's out. I'm going to get the rear suspension off, all the front suspension off, and get the body ready to come off. So that's next. A little bit's happened. Suspension off. No big deal. Come off in big lumps. Floor pan's out. As you can see, floor pan is done. More holes in it than you can believe, and there's some really shit welding on it as well. So a little bit to do on the frame head, but nothing too bad. The rest of it's really good. The spine's solid, although it doesn't look it. It is absolutely solid. And I'm obviously going to replace everything else. All the pans are gone. So there you go, it's off. And I'm going to sort out putting it on trestles and getting them welded in. So I need to reorganise my garage a little bit. The body's over there. I'd like to get the body outside altogether. If I can find something to skate it out there. I'd like to find somewhere to tuck the suspension away as well. Give me some more room. But there you go. I'll get on with that today. Gonna set the plasma cutter up and cut all the way around just to get rid of the excess metal. And then I'll spend some time drilling out all the spot welds and get rid of everything. Get it ready. I'll show you a bit of that as we go. Right, that was a bit of a workup. I'll come round here. Right, I've got them on stands just to get it to a nice height so I can work. Getting the body up in the air was no fun on your Jack Jones, that's for sure, but me and Mr. Engine Hoist over there managed to get it up in the air. it's quite solid. So I'm going to turn my attention first of all to the floor pans. I don't know if you've ever done floor pans, but it's a dead simple job really. Just found a factory door screw. Nice. Basically, if you come underneath here, you'll see there's a seam line just there. That seam line there, and we're going to separate this part of the pan from that part of the pan there. It's the same seam all the way up to here. See it there? So we need to keep this part of the pan separate and then cut this floor pan off at that point. We're then left with all of the spot welds to deal with. You can see plenty of daylight through it. So basically got to go round and cut off this bit, and obviously we want to cut off this side of any lines that we make, so that we're cutting all the waste off and then putting the new one on. The new one welds here, follows that down. It just rests on this part here. This is rusty to death, and somebody's actually welded it to death as well, so we need to chop that off. And I think you can see the remnants of a bolt in there as well, look, so we need to sort that out. But basically this part of the pan all the way around, I'm going to get rid of this old fuel line as well, don't need that. Give it a clean, and I'm going to do my cut more or less along this line here, and then peel off all the welds. I just started off taking off things that I definitely don't need. Single master cylinder, gone. Don't actually know what the hell's going on here, what that's supposed to be bolting in place. Possibly the brackets that hold this in place, I guess. I won't be using that gear selector. It's hard to see it, but down there. Won't be using that gear selector, so that can come out. I won't be using all this rust, so all that rust can come out. I made this hole some time ago to have a look how bad it was in there, and so I could get my hand in, because when I was taking it apart I could actually feel all that dust hanging around. So all of that can come out. I'm going to repair that. I've actually still got the piece of metal that came out of there, so that will all get welded back in again and made to look nice. My fuel line is rotten, and I won't be using that type of fuel line. I'm going up to an 8mm fuel line, which I've actually got hanging from the rafters here. Let me show you. This is what a lot of race cars and stuff use. Falcon fuel line, duck burn, does it say? I don't know. Basically, it's aluminium tube, which is lined with a polyurethane, and then outside's got a poly on it as well. It's all fuel spec for alcohol, so it shouldn't give me any problems, and fitted alongside here, clipped really nicely. It won't get in danger, and as I say, that's 8mm ID. That's going to go front to back of the car. Because I'm running carbs, I only need one, and the fuel pressure regulator will be at the back of the car. The electric fuel pump will be at the back of the car, and then it's all siphon system. So that is, I think it's the best stuff you can buy for doing this job, and it's not expensive. So do it once, do it right, they say. I used the last of that on my daughter's Beetle, which you can just see popping out, and it's been on for 3 years. It's very good stuff. Right then, I'll set up for doing a bit of videoing of the cutting, and you can see that happening. Right, that's the first bit out the way. I thought I'd just do it in sections, bit at a time. Here you can there you can just see that's the edge that you don't want to cut. That's the lower edge, and then there's the top edge there, which is what's left of the heater of the floor pan. So as you go along, you need to pick the two apart. So you've got a top piece, which is this, which is bent down and then formed there, and then there's a bottom piece as well, and you're only trying to take off the top one, which is this one here, which is what's left. It's very difficult to see, but there are little spot welds all the way along. If you have got a tool like that or a chisel, then just a little bit of beating with the tool, and then you can find a gap like that, and you can see it's just peeled it back up. That's one way of doing it. You can do it by hand. You can find the spots and drill every single one of them out. There's a million ways of doing it. Just choose which you can. If you've got a compressor, then a tool like this, a little hammer, not expensive, can help you with all sorts, so well worth buying. If you haven't, then drill them out, knock them off by hand, or again, just go along with a chisel. That's what we're trying to achieve, is a very nice clean step there, which we're going to grind down to get a really nice place to weld, and then we're going to fit the floor plan to it. I'm at that stage now. I've gone along every inch, got rid of every little bit of old pan, all the way up to the back, ground that all up nice and smooth. I've just taken 2 minutes just to go over this, because I'm not going to be able to get to it once I put the pan there. So if I pre-treat that now, and then I can get to the spray gun quite easy, but if I just go over this here and brush it all up nice, then that's easier work for next time. This is all brushed up nice, so I'm at that point where I can just fettle that a little bit and then put the pans on. So I just thought I'd show you, get it as nice as you possibly can. It's going to make life easier. Just trial fitting the pan now. You line it up with the edges here. It fits nice down there. It's about 5mm away from here, which is what it was from the factory. It gets a little bit further away there, but we can deal with that. We can still spot weld it. And then here, it fits nice. It isn't too bad up there. A little bit of massaging, but what I'll do is I'll weld this down, and then I'll beat that over so that the gap, there's a little gap there. I'll beat that over so that I can get rid of that gap, and then fully seam weld that in place. So there's the compressor going off there. It's not too bad. Well, you've got to set yourself up some datum points, I reckon. So I've taken this edge here and just tacked it in place there, and then I hammered this back sort of this way so that I could get it right into that jam, and then right down low into that jam there. And I know it's dead in place because it sounds rock solid where everything else is not solid. So right in that corner, I know that that's as low as it can go and as far into that way as it can go. Nice and solid. I'll put another tack up here, and I'm going to hammer all of that flat against there and weld it in. So at the moment we're just tacking everything, so I won't weld that in yet, I'll weld it in later on. But I did notice that where I cut it out from and where it's gone back into are exactly the same, so that's a real good bonus. This is a different shape to the factory. If you wanted it a bit more factory, you just cut that straight up there. It's up to you, don't matter, it goes on the carpet anyway, so it don't really matter. And then with a good drill bit, we just need to drill every inch all the way along. So I'm going to drill it, hammer weld it and puddle it up so that it's solid, and then move to the next. Slow, laborious, but I'm going to aim to push every single inch of this down, weld it, and then I'll be able to see that it's level and weld it up solid. So that's the plan. I know that this is in sort of nice. I've noticed that the radius here isn't square enough to match, so I've left it a little bit that way, and then I'm going to hammer it round into that joint and get that radius nice, and then that's all sealed. There's a tiny little bit less here than what the factory was, but it's not going to mean anything to the actual build, so I'll just hammer that corner into there to get it nice and then weld it up. They're never going to be 100% factory finish, these panels. They're just not going to be, so you get them as best you can, and as long as these holes bolt up, you're going to carpet it and seam seal it. No one will ever know that it's a millimetre out, so don't worry about it. There's a lot of welding to do, a lot of getting on to do, and I'm going to see if I can get that done next sort of half hour or so. I'll get back to you then. Right, I'm just going to pass on a bit of experience now. I tried up here with like a 5mm drill bit, and I was drilling out 5mm drills and then welding it, and it wasn't so nice. You couldn't get to this plate very easily through the 5mm hole. It was making very small holes. I've gone up a bit now to an 8mm drill bit, and I've got a lot more metal out down there, and then when I puddle weld that back up again, I get a nice puddle weld, and it's very solid. So what I'm doing is I've got myself a big block of metal, bit of scrap metal, which is quite heavy. That's holding the panel down. I just drill a couple of holes and then weld a couple, and then just move along, work my way along. That seems to be working out quite nice. This is going in very solid now. It was just too small a drill bit to get the holes through, basically, that's what I'm saying. So a slightly bigger hole and you get a nice puddle weld. So I'm just working my way along now, and let's see how we get on. Nearly done. Just welded the whole lot up. Seam welded all the back of the spine there. It's all in. I've just given this a little grind up as well, where I've done the flat floor. If you haven't watched the previous video, then that's MGB GT seat rails, just because the seats are a lot lower. That's it. There's only one little thing that I'm going to do now. Is there is a tiny bit of daylight coming through one or two bits here. So just to tighten up the metal, just going to use a punch and go around and just all the way down the seam. Just punch that down, and then that'll tighten up any high spots. Because when you're welding, you put heat into the metal, you distort it. So I'm just going to go around, punch all of these down with the hammer, and then that'll get rid of any little holes and marks and just make it nice and flat. But that's basically it. That's about an hour and 20 minutes, start to finish, cut out, grind, level off, hammer in and all that. So that's one side done. I won't film doing the other side because it's just going to be all exactly the same as what I've just done. So I'll get on with that rest of today, some of tomorrow, and that should be finished as well. I haven't done the flat floor part of that pan yet, so that's still to do. It's going to take me a little bit longer. Other than that, thanks for watching. Any comments in the box? I'll answer any questions if you want. Cheers.